JD, it's the moment you and me have been waiting for. We're going down to the swamp. John Sumrall era has began at Florida. We're bullish on Florida. Do you think BetMGM is? What do you think their line is for the Florida Gators as we kick off the John Sumrall era this college football season?
I personally, if I were setting the line, would put it at 6.5. I think BetMGM is saying, hey, Florida, just make a bowl game. So I think they have the number at 5.5. I would take the over there. I wonder if Vegas is dialed into how good this roster is with Florida. So I think 5.5 is what they have it at.
JD, the roster, everything we've talked about with Florida, the new leadership, they must be listening to the show, JD. They must be listening to me specifically because this was another shocker for me. Florida, 7.5.
No kidding.
They're drinking the Kool-Aid. They're drinking the Gatorade. They think Florida's got it. They think Sumraw's got it. I mentioned it on the schedule. I think they're winning their first couple. I think they're winning their last couple, and it's about what you do in between. I was waiting to hammer this line, JD, waiting, because I guaranteed that Florida would get 7 wins. I knew the bowl would be a lock, and it seems like BetMGM feels the same way. They're clearly watching the hard count, because I think this is a extremely high number for a first-year head coach in the SEC, unless you think something special is brewing over there in Gainesville, and it's clear BetMGM thinks so.
That is wild.
Same as Oklahoma. Same as Oklahoma.
That's crazy. I mean, so the thing is, too, last year they went 4-8. And the roster was still really good last year. The schedule was brutal, but on paper, like, the roster was in a pretty decent spot. Golly. Okay, so now I'm in a blender then in terms of what to do with that win total.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'd probably – now you're going to hate me for saying this. I think I'd probably lean towards 7 because I was setting that number at 6.5. I want to hear who the quarterback is. Like, if I'm hearing great things about Tramel Jones and he's the guy and he is definitively the guy and it's kind of a foregone conclusion at some point during camp, I'm saying, okay, well, he beat out Philo and Philo knew that system before getting to Florida. So what does it say about Tramel? Gosh, I'm in a blender now with that being the number for Florida. Here's the thing. They've got a lot of names, and that was what I was curious about with BetMGM is, like, do they know who Vernell Brown is? Do they know who Eric Singleton is? Do they know what Jaden Baugh brings to the table? Do they know how good that defense is and how much they brought back in terms of, like, retaining a Jaden Woods and what he brings to the table? So I guess that's part of it. My biggest question for them in year one under John Sumrall is, do they still look like a year one team operationally with John Sumrall as the head coach? And what I mean by that is, like, anytime you take over a new team, it takes a second to get your culture implemented, your way of doing things totally implemented, and have the foundation down. My gut says John Sumrall is probably pretty good at expediting that process. Is Florida still beating Florida? Like, Florida a year ago, maybe they're not beating LSU, but throwing 6 picks the way that DJ Lagway did, Florida beat Florida that day. As much as LSU won that game, Florida did a pretty good job of making sure that they didn't win that game in and of themselves. Biggest game I'm looking at here, Saturday, September 26th, you host Ole Miss. They get Ole Miss in a potential letdown spot the week after they play LSU. This is a chance, if you're Florida, to kind of capture some momentum. You get them in the swamp. It's a chance to measure yourself against a team that made the playoff last year. I was so ready to be the guy that was like, I'll take the over on 5.5. I feel great about that. Heck, if it was 6.5, I'll take the over there. 7.5 just puts me in a tricky spot, man. Last thing I'll say, we've mentioned it a couple times on this show. This team is going to suck to play. Like, the line of scrimmage, the way that they operate, like, urgency and energy-wise, if it matches John Sumrall. Like, you have a former linebacker as your head coach, which gives me the feel this team will have a linebacker personality to them. I just think they're going to find a way to win some more close games, but 7.5 is jarring to me. Let me hear more about the quarterback position before I jump in on that, on the over. I'll feel pretty good about taking 7 as it stands right now, which would be a great first year in Gainesville based on what last year was, when 4-8.
Yeah, 7 seems like the magic number, so they did. I think they stole our thunder. Like, we were ready to see a first-year head coach 5 or a 6 on here, and we were going to hammer that over. But unfortunately, BetMGM listens to the show, and they take care of their business. We've talked about it before. This is a guy that's lost 12 games in his career. And all those games, it was either a great head coach going against him, or it was a team that was more talented than him, a G5 versus a P4. So to me, first 3 games in the season are wins for me. The last 2 games of the season are wins for me. And can you mix it up with the Georgias, the Oklahomas, the Texases, the Missouris, the South Carolinas? Like, to me, there's a lot of room to operate here. There's a couple absolutes, but to me, I look across this roster, man, there's a couple great teams, but the ones that aren't the top tier of the SEC, I think this coach, just given his history, given his track record, I think he's going to find a way to win some games. So you mentioned they're going to suck to play. Wish there was a way to bet suck to play. If there was a metric to put on that, we would do that. But nonetheless, excited for the Swamp, and it seems like BetMGM is too. But